Is Morning in America, number 4 by Mags Visaggio. And just soak in that cover. What a compelling cover that is. Just grabs the average teenage boy or young man and says, "Hey, come by me." No, it says, "Put me down and find something better to spend your $4 on. This is garbage." I don't know how a cover like that gets past the editor. Oh, books like this don't have editors. Anyway, Mags is the 40-year-old edgy teenager talking about how America sucks and socialism rules. Mags is, of course, a capitalist, just one who refuses to give the customer what they want, because Mags is insanely depressed. If you want to know how depressed, read Eternity Girl. Eternity Girl is a cry for help. Everyone involved in Eternity Girl needs massive doses of Prozac and lithium, and therapy, like twice a week therapy. Of course, there are plenty of other countries where you could set up shop, but for all they hate America, they never seem to leave it. Odd, really. Anyway, let's jump into the story. The protagonist is a little brown breastless girl who is angry at her dad. It's not a phase. I guess that is the writer's self-insertion into the story. I think the whole story is Mag's childhood, but gender swapped. Mags was born Brian, in case anyone didn't know. It's not a secret or anything. The story feels like Mags' childhood in the 80s, somewhere in middle America. I'm sure Mags couldn't wait to head out to Los Angeles and dive into the degeneracy of California. Shave his legs, he became a she. But I digress. The whole Morning in America story is kind of loosely based on Dean Koontz's book. I believe it was the Fear Nothing series, which itself was loosely based or ripped off from Stephen King's The Mist. Probably. The cover, little brownish breastless Latina with a baseball bat fighting monsters. Oh, Bianca, don't you know she's fighting the patriarchy? Couple points. High school girls have breasts. High school girls are young ladies, but they are ladies. You don't have to be afraid to draw them as women. Second point, your protagonist is a Latina. I'm just going to ask the obvious question, why? Do young Latinas buy comics? Absolutely not. Latinos buy comics. You would have been selling to a wider market if you used a boy. Your biggest market would be if you used a boy of European descent. If the story is inspired by Mags' experience in the 80s, why not use a little Italian boy? Oh, Bianca, something patriarchy. And I'll have you know that Morning in America is selling just fine, thank you very much. Oh, wait, it's not selling well at all. The first issue sold 5,000 copies. Number 2 dropped to 2,000. By issue 3, it was down to 1,500. This is issue 4, and I'll assume it sold about 1,000 copies. Or shall I say it shipped 1,000 copies, because we all know that shipped ain't sales. It's a weird industry where if you are trans, you can fail upwards. Brian Visaggio wasn't selling, but Mags Visaggio, well, Mags isn't selling either, but Mags is at least getting work that gets canceled. Brian wasn't getting work. Mags has a book, Vagrant Queens, that I looked at it a few days ago. It's a rip-off of Star Wars, like a blatant rip-off. But the main character is a black girl instead of Luke Skywalker. It's embarrassingly bad. But because Mags is trans, it's getting made into a movie or TV show on the Sci-Fi Network. That is how you fail upwards. If your boy put on some lipstick and a dress, maybe you could get Jawbreakers turned into a series. The title already sounds like gay porn. Anyway, Morning in America is mostly stupid. The only cool part is the stuff ripped off from Dean Koontz and Stephen King. Out of the mist comes monsters, which the breastless Latina defeats easily. This 1,000-pound monster from the Mesozoic era is knocked out with one swing from our 90-pound hero because girl power. There is zero tension. She just Mike Tyson's it or Jose Canseco's it. Sports aren't my thing. There is a scene where the breastless girl's parents are arguing, but who cares? It's a depressing backstory. Have a story about her boyfriend helping her solve the mystery. In case you didn't know, teenage girls are boy crazy. But Mags focuses the story on her 2 girlfriends, one of whom is a statistically improbable lesbian. Her 2 girlfriends are in the story, but they do nothing except emotionally validate her and have group hugs. Mags was on Twitter the other day saying something about how she wasn't a diversity hire because she had written so many pages. Nobody had the heart to tell her that you don't get an A for effort. You have to sell those books. Selling books is a foreign concept to Mags, but Mags doesn't live in a meritocracy. She lives in a world where Brian Visaggio was flipping burgers, but Mags Visaggio is writing movies. Anyway, this book mostly sucks, except for the parts ripped off from real writers. Go to IndieCron if you want to find some fun books. Okay, starting with the cover. No. This isn't your target audience. Your target audience are probably, I don't know, 10 to 20-year-old young men. Not this. Story starts with a monster from the Paleolithic era demanding its $3.50. They have some government spooks doing government spooky stuff. No dialogue. That's fine. Brown girl, good. Blue-eyed, white-skinned, bad, of course, because reasons. Girl riding a badly drawn bicycle. No dialogue. She finds a spooky government site. This is actually kind of a scene from Dean Koontz's book Fear Nothing, where the protagonist is albino. I think it's called Fear Nothing. And him and his surfer buddy fight off intelligent monkeys, and then they go to this factory, this building, and it's a secret government facility that has space-time travel, and you can go to alternate dimensions and stuff. And the Dean Koontz book is really good because it's written by a real author. But this is just a weird ripoff. Okay, then they introduce the characters, her little friends, and the statistically improbable lesbian. The thing is, Mags knows how improbable lesbians are. Lesbians are always complaining about not being able to find other lesbians. They're not as common as you think. Even, believe it or not, even gay men are not that common unless you live in Los Angeles, San Francisco, New York, one of the main cities. And even if you live in the main cities, you still have to be near one of the gay areas in the main cities. These things aren't as common as these Twitter comic mafias would have you believe. And so they have these girls talking it up. And believe it or not, most girls who are in high school are really, really into young men. They're really, really into boys because their hormones are just going crazy. Young men and young women are very, very much into each other. But she has them talking and arguing, and then, of course, girl power, group hug. It's been an honor serving with you. To quote the 80s, gag me with a spoon. This is just stupid. Why does a lesbian have to be taller and manlier than the other girls? There are lipstick lesbians. Okay, then she has a scene where she's fighting with their parents and then angry at her dad. Nobody cares. The whole thing is just depressing. Why would you insert this into the story? Because Mags is angry at her dad, I guess. I don't know. It's stupid. And then she fights the monster out lens flare because you think this is The Last Jedi or something. All right, they go into the Dean Koontz area, and this whole thing is like, I know she has the book sitting right next to her. Stephen King's The Mist and Dean Koontz's Fear Nothing. A little Lord of the Rings added in here. Yeah, all right. The Mist. Out of the mist comes the monsters. You can see the wing. And she whips out a baseball bat, and that's it. The fight's over. Just look at that. That sucks. Some of the art is pretty good, but art like this is not ready for I want to say it's not ready for the prime time, but I wonder if that Metallica is going to get this video busted. But when you're only selling 1,000 issues, I mean, are you really prime time? I mean, the whole book, this is on issue 4, and all 4 issues probably sold, I guess, less than 10,000. Why are you bothering? That's it. One hit. That's a one-hit wonder, man. That just 90-pound girl, 1,000-pound monster, fight's over. That's not how you write a story. That's how. That's when you self-insert yourself into the story, and you don't want any trauma. You don't want any. You have to have tension and resolve tension. Doesn't matter if it's a story or music. You got to create tension and a resolution. There's got to be something. And this book doesn't have anything. I'm sorry. The only good things it has don't involve the main characters. The most interesting part of the story involved these two scientist creatures who are opening up a wormhole. Yeah, I know Mags is reading Scientific America. She probably has a monthly subscription. She's reading about, Physics 101. My God, you built it. It looks like a particle collider or something vaguely, but it's actually it's a pretty cool part of the story. Yes, ma'am, a stable Einstein bridge, a 100% genuine wormhole. So your theoretical work applied on a somewhat larger scale. Okay, he took the female physicist's work, because you know how many female physicists are? How many women have PhDs in physics or mathematics or mathematical physics or computational modeling? Not many. Not many. There are not many women physicists in general. There are not many women in STEM in general at the BS, the MS, and the PhD level. But of course, this is a woman physicist because, okay, we built a wormhole machine, all under the convenient ruse that we're some kind of electronics factory. We keep the city government paid, and they don't ask questions. Okay. And then we first built a test bed and made the briefest of contact with the beings on the other side I never imagined. Has it been tested? Is it safe? We've had some spillover during test runs, but that's to be expected. Nothing we can't handle. We've been working with the local authorities to keep collateral damage to a minimum. A few casualties, a few payoffs. Okay, so this is my point. This is the most interesting part of the story, and it doesn't involve the main character. What does that tell you? It tells you the main character, this girl, this breastless Latina, is just not interesting. This backstory about her parents is not interesting. None of this is interesting. This girl power. The reason you're selling 1,000 copies is because you don't know who your audience is. Your audience is not 15-year-old girls. Girls don't buy comic books in general. I just said it. Go to a comic book shop or look up any statistics you want to look up. People who look like this don't buy comic books. It's a male industry. So this is why you're selling 1,000 issues, because you have this Harlequin Lifetime garbage that just is, in my best Nurkish voice, this is stupid. Anyway, check out IndieCron or any of the Comicsgate channels for comics, graphic novels that you can be interested in, because this stuff is just dog meat. Anyway, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and leave a like and a comment.